Good morning, Dan and Amy, and this story is just delicious, isn't it? An English language newspaper controlled by the Chinese Communist Party's propaganda department, that would be China Daily, paid U.S. media companies nearly $2 million for printing and advertising expenses over the past 6 months, even amid heightened scrutiny over Beijing's ongoing disinformation campaigns in the West. China Daily paid the Wall Street Journal $85,000, L.A. Times $340,000. These from disclosures made that are required under the Justice Department's Foreign Agent Registration Act. China Daily paid Foreign Policy Magazine. Oh, there you go, establishmentarian foreign policy rags, internationalist in nature. Foreign Policy gets $100,000. Financial Times in the UK $223,000. $132,000 for Canadian for Canada's Globe and Mail. $110,000 for the L.A. Times. $92,000, Houston Chronicle, $76,000, the Boston Globe. I say this because isn't it fun how the D.C. Press Corps and their outlets around the country, the major dailies, along with big tech, are happy to do the bidding for some of the most brutal regimes on the planet, and yet spend all of their time worried about the one-off conservative donor or conservative donor group who starts an outlet. They're really worried about delisting the Washington Examiner. Or otherwise censoring, standard issue conservative outlets. But, taking money from China, running interference for China and other despotic regimes, not a problem. For more on this, particularly the big tech piece, we're pleased to be joined again by Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn. Senator Blackburn, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yes, delighted to join you. Thank you for having me on today.
I know you were one of those who had a go at Zuckerberg and Dorsey the last time the two gentlemen appeared before the Senate, the relevant Senate committee, along with Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley and others. And, I think the frustration among conservatives is, and frankly, even some of the senators, as expressed by Josh Hawley, is to say that the hearings are useful. It's important to whistle these guys before the Senate and have them answer questions and have the American public be able to hear the quality of the questions and answers and assess the information themselves. But at some point, the Republicans need to decide what exactly it is they want to do and pursue doing it. And I think people are impatient for something to be done about big tech.
Well, and we do have my legislation, the Online Freedom and Viewpoint Diversity Act, and I've been joined by both Chairman Graham of Judiciary Committee and Chairman Wicker of Commerce Committee, the two committees that have this jurisdiction. And that is the reform bill for Section 230. And that bill was filed back in September. It is ready to be marked up in Judiciary. The hearing that we had last week was in part a fact-finding hearing in support of passing that legislation. So we are doing something. Now, I will tell you this. We have tried, I've worked on this Section 230 issue for 3 years, and it has been very difficult to get support to move legislation forward. And yes, it does take a while, but also, Dan, the issue of privacy, all this data mining and selling your data and invading your personal you, as I call it, that is something that we have worked on for 8 years. And we finally have bipartisan agreement on that bill. It is moving through the Senate. My hope is that we are going to see that passed very soon, and that we will have a federal privacy standard with one set of rules for the entire Internet ecosystem with one regulator, the Federal Trade Commission, and that we will end this practice of the big tech companies data mining you, selling your information to the highest bidder, and how they go in and assume they have rights. It would give you, the consumer, the right to say, no, big tech, you cannot follow me, you cannot censor me, you cannot have access to my information unless I give explicit consent.
Well, Senator, do you think the big tech companies are going to follow this? And what would the penalties be?
If we put it in law, they're going to have to follow it. If we reform Section 230, they're going to have to form it. See, with Section 230, what they've done is to just run wild with hiding behind the liability protections. If we tighten that up so that we're giving people more freedom and taking it away from big tech, we define when and how you can use Section 230 provisions, and we would then preserve Section 230 for new entrants in the marketplace, like Parler, and new search engines or newer search engines like Bing and DuckDuck. So we also define who is a publisher, who is a content creator. And, you know, what some of these tech companies have done is to go in and close down websites or close down social media sites for people like the Federalist because they don't agree with something in the comment section. So we define that. We also remove some language that has been nebulous, like the term otherwise objectionable on content. And this is how they have said, oh, this, that, or the other doesn't meet our quote-unquote community standards or terms of service, because their content moderator found it objectionable. So we replace that with explicit language like unlawful or incite terrorism or cause personal harm. So, and then you have a regulator, the FTC, who has been our nation's online regulator since day one, who has the enforcement capacity on that. Likewise, with privacy and that online privacy issue, you have the FTC as your regulator with the enforcement capacity.
And so yeah, just to make this concrete, you know, one of the examples of concern from conservatives is, okay, you want to strip Section 230 protections from big tech, but you know, if I run a conservative blog, I had this very conversation with William Jacobson, who's a Cornell law professor who runs Legal Insurrection. Am I then going to have legal exposure for what somebody publishes in the comments section on my blog? Am I going to be considered a publisher then and have the same legal exposure that they're talking about for Facebook or Twitter? And so how would you respond to that?
No, it would not give you exposure for something someone says in your comment section. That's the kind of practice that we are seeking to end, because they've shut down sites because they did not like something that came up in the content section. Comment section. Now, they also will censor people, not give a reason. Let me give you an example of that. We all know the Trump Accountability Project is something that AOC, the Squad, some of Pete Buttigieg's staffers are starting because they want to blacklist people that voted for, worked in the Trump administration. I had put up a post that in the United States of America, we do not create blacklist and try to ruin the lives, kill the careers of people who disagree with us politically. And this is I fight every day to protect the free speech of people who disagree with me on issues, but they have a right to their opinion. So I put that post up that we do not do these blacklists in this country.
Good for you.
Facebook then blocked my post. So I brought this up to Zuckerberg because I said nothing about the election. I said nothing about the election results. I simply said, we don't do that here in the United States. We have a history of respecting robust, respectful political debate, having a point, having a counterpoint. And it was astounding to me that they chose to block that or censor that post.
Now, Senator Blackburn, I just wanted to move along to pressing issues with the presidential election. A number of Republican senators came forward over the weekend saying it's time for President Trump to finally end this and concede. Where do you stand?
I think that President Trump deserves his day in court. The left named themselves the resistance the day after he won in 2016. And they made a commitment that they were going to block, obstruct, make every day miserable. They have put him and this country through a living hell for 4 full years. We had Russia, we had Ukraine, we had impeachment, we had post office scandal. We have had them block him at every turn. So if it takes 4 weeks to figure out what happened with this election, let's take 4 weeks and let's figure it out. But I'm going to stand with President Trump on this. And I think that Joe Biden and his team have everything they need right now. And let's figure out who actually won, what happened with these voter rolls that people who had been dead for a dozen years. I talked to somebody, their previous homeowner had died 12 years ago. They had been in their house 11 years, and the deceased individual got a mail-in ballot. I mean, the left mailed these things out like it was a Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes notice. Fill it out, send it in if you want to participate. Then you had these ballot harvesters going around and collecting these unused ballots. You had them filled out, sent in. Then when you separate the signature cards from the ballot, you don't know if it is a ballot that was harvested or if it is you casting your vote. So we do need to get to the bottom of this. We need to do it before these Georgia runoffs on January 5th. So I'm sticking with the president on this one.
In a prospective Biden administration, if that's what comes to pass, what is the issue that you and your colleagues on the Senate Republican caucus are most discussing in terms of the need to work in solidarity with one another to prevent, is it a Green New Deal? Is it some of what Joe Biden's already been talking about, for example, with the college loan forgiveness plan? What would it be?
One of the things that I am going to be focused on is dealing with China, making certain that we hold them to account. They took our jobs. They sent us this virus. I'm also focused on this technology accountability and making certain that that we deal with Section 230 and that we deal with online privacy so that these companies don't own the virtual you, so that you own your virtual you. We also need to be paying attention to great power competition and what China is doing there in the military space, their aggressiveness. We also should be encouraging our state legislatures to pass the necessary rules and laws at the state level, implement the necessary rules so that these local communities clean up these voter rolls. That is a responsibility of your local county election commission. So every county in this country should make it a priority to know who has moved away and who is deceased, and they should be cleaning up these voter rolls so that we nip this problem in the bud.
She is United States Senator Marsha Blackburn. She is a Republican from Tennessee, where a lot of former Chicago residents now live. Senator Blackburn, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Glad to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Experience, dedication, and service. Meet the JB Real Estate Team, Joe Kuman and Becky Toulon, real estate brokers associated with Century 21 Elm Realtors. They're the #1 office in Park Ridge and #1 Century 21 office in Illinois. Joe and Becky serve the Northwest suburban and Chicagoland area with their combined knowledge and experience. The JB team is Joe's vast construction experience along with Becky's real estate knowledge, providing their clients a diverse background unparalleled in the real estate industry. With this experience, they offer twice the service to you, whether a buyer, seller, or both. For real estate sales and purchases, contact the JB team. Call 847-691-6135, 847-691-6135, or online at myparkridgehome.com. Joe Kuman and Becky Toulon